Hello, everyone, and welcome to Listening to Lancaster. I'm Diana Martin with Hourglass, and it's my pleasure to be joined today by Melissa Ressler, Executive Director of Lancaster Downtowners, to talk about age-friendly Lancaster and their upcoming summit, which will be held on October 12th, focused on age-friendly housing solutions. Thanks so much for being here with me, Melissa.
Yeah, thank you so much, Diana. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Can you give me a little background on what age-friendly Lancaster is? How did this initiative get started, and what have you guys been up to?
Yeah, absolutely. So, Age Friendly Lancaster City is a collaborative initiative, and our mission is to bring people together to have conversations to elevate the needs and make our city more livable for all generations. We've been working on this since about 2018 in conjunction with the City of Lancaster and Landis communities, along with Downtowners, or the three organizations that have launched and led the coalition. And then along the way, we've had a lot of support from other organizations. Lancaster Recreation Commission, United Way of Lancaster County are also leads within this initiative as well. And so what it is our community at its highest level of elected officials. So for the city, that's at the mayor's office, has committed to putting forth policies and practices that will consider all generations. And so that commitment ties us into the World Health Organization's global network of age-friendly cities and communities, which in the United States is facilitated by AARP. So there's a lot of players in the mix here. But we are all committed to making the world and our community a better place for all ages.
And why is it important for us to be thinking about making our community friendly for all ages? I know I've seen some statistics that Pennsylvania is aging, and what does that look like in Lancaster and Lancaster City?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, Pennsylvania as a state has the fifth largest population of older adults now. And nationwide, what we're looking at is really sort of an unprecedented population shift. By the year 2034, there's going to be more people over age 65 than under 18. And that's the first time that has ever happened. And so, what we need to do is we need to be thinking proactively about that and making sure that our systems and communities are prepared to meet the needs of a changing population. And what does that work look like when people are working longer, living longer, and needing to be out in the community and doing things a lot longer? How can we leverage the resources of that population, and how can we meet those needs? And so what the age-friendly perspective does is looks at it within 8 different holistic domains. And so, we're looking at things like outdoor spaces and buildings, housing, health services, social participation, respect and social inclusion, communication, information, civic participation, and employment and transportation. So really looking at what do we need to help people live here longer and be able to continue to give their gifts to the community.
And I think I've seen some statistics that in Lancaster County, our population is also aging. And in Lancaster City, older adults is one of the fastest growing populations in Lancaster City. So your
Mhm.
work is very relevant and timely.
Yes, it's very important. We have a lot of, just in addition to the folks who have always lived here and are growing older, Lancaster has also been an attractive place for people to move to post-retirement, with healthcare, with walkability, with a different cost of living than other more metropolitan areas. It's been an attractive place for people to come to. So we're continuing to see that shift in addition to just the natural population aging of residents here.
So I think it was about 2 years ago, Age Friendly Lancaster put out an action plan. What does that action plan say, and what are some of your focus areas?
Yeah, so in the planning process for Age Friendly Action Plan, we held a series of summits, focus groups, surveys, and things like that to find out of those possible domains of wellness, what are the most important to Lancaster right now in the city? And what we found was that housing was most important. Followed up by pedestrian safety, so kind of outdoor spaces and buildings. we found that social participation and inclusion were important, and particularly in intergenerational connections and building that. And then the other area that we are working on, we've categorized as access to services. And kind of what we see as far as Lancaster in that landscape is that there are a lot of supports available. And one, people don't always know about them. Two, they can't always get to them. And three, there are language barriers or other accessibility barriers. And so looking at those four areas and looking at the stakeholders who were able to engage, we came up with the key activities in those areas. So housing, pedestrian safety, access to services, and then intergenerational connections. And then our action team leads have been working for the last year and a half, facilitating some of those efforts. And that is, they all have a little bit of a different spin, a little bit of a different angle on how we are approaching those. One that the Lancaster Recreation Commission has led in conjunction with participation from the library, and United Way, as well as Downtowners, is that intergenerational connection. So they've hosted an intergenerational dance class this year, Dance Age. And then in September, we had the first age-friendly community volunteer fair at the library. And we really focused on connecting retired volunteers with the nonprofits in our area to bridge that gap and make people aware of what is available.
I love that. I think another program I saw too was that there was a Z tutor where I think you were connecting students with older adults to do reading together over Zoom, especially during the pandemic. So you
Yes.
guys have gotten creative with a lot of different programming.
Yeah, that was I guess if you can have one, a highlight of the pandemic was being able to see that and facilitate that, and really be a support for students and their caregivers, with our volunteers who were used to being in the schools, used to being in the community, and then obviously that all changed. So we were able to pivot and experiment, and a lot of those volunteers are now back in the classrooms, they're back in the community, reading with students. So we were glad for that stopgap there.
One of the things you outlined in the action plan was making sure that older adults had a voice in the city's comprehensive planning process, which many people have been following, has been going on the last 2 years or so, and they're just finishing up that comprehensive plan. So, what was that process like, and what did you learn from being part of that?
Yeah. So we did within the organizations that have been connected to Age Friendly, we did a lot of promotion of the community listening sessions and things like that throughout the comprehensive planning process. And then last year, when there was a policies workshop day, we were able to connect in some specific age friendly and older adult focused participants, and a special session on age friendly housing as part of that. And then throughout the year, we've been able to have an age-friendly consultant, Chris Kennedy, with Age to Age, continue to walk with the city through that process and make sure we're looking at best practices from other comprehensive plans in other cities, other activities, to make sure that we're really considering the breadth of what could be possible, as far as affordable and accessible housing in our historic city, which can be a challenge.
A few other things that you mentioned earlier have come up for in the action plan would be things like pedestrian safety. The city has the Vision Zero plan, transportation. I mean, what are some of the ways that you're thinking about these topics moving forward with these partners that we can start to address
Yeah.
concerns and make sure that we are really being accessible for all ages?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Vision Zero plan was something that was already in process when Age Friendly was initiated. And so what we've been able to do is provide an extra layer of support to add that extra lens to make sure that when, it started with when data is pooled about the high injury networks, or the intersections or things, that it is separated out by age so that we understand who is being impacted. And what we've learned, it is the youngest of the young and the oldest of the old who are impacted there the most. And so that has helped focus which streets and intersections are addressed first, because they're looking at places, not just the elementary schools or the middle schools where there are a lot of students, but also looking at where are there senior apartment buildings, where are there places that we really need to consider the safety there. We've also had a lot of members of Downtowners get involved in advocacy, and then supporting the other kind of related efforts of our having a walkable city, participating in the bike count, and being advocates for public transportation, and for safety in letters to the editor, and meetings and things like that.
So you talked about housing has been a big topic for age-friendly Lancaster, and in the coming days here, you're actually having a summit, age-friendly Lancaster summit that's focused on housing. So tell us a little bit more about that. What will you be talking about? What will people learn if they attend?
Yes, I am so excited for this. This has been, it's a huge event for us coming up, and a great way to showcase the work that has gone into the comprehensive plan, and to really think about what might be, what we can really do for Lancaster. And so, folks, anybody is invited to attend. It's open to residents of any age, whether you're, working in government or business development, nonprofits, human services. And what we want to do is explore creative ways that we can continue to house people. And so we'll have sort of a plenary session on the history of senior housing in the community. We'll give an action plan update, and we're going to hear from Douglas Smith from the city about the comprehensive plan, and how the age-friendly lens has been applied. Then we're going to have a series of breakouts. And so we'll get to go kind of have a deep dive with industry experts about things like shared housing, accessory dwelling units, the missing middle. We're going to have folks talking about LGBTQ plus inclusive housing. And what else are we learning about? We're going to hear about the apartment development that's happening in the city. So what is happening there? And then we'll also hear from the providers that are already providing age-friendly housing in our community. So, HDC Mid-Atlantic, Willow Valley, Landis communities, and Garden Spot communities, about some of their projects that are focused on older adult housing. One of the things that I think really makes this summit unique is that we aim for it to be generative. And so that within each of these sessions, you'll be learning, but there's also going to be time for response, comment, Q&A, and really to think about what can we do creatively to address the accessibility and affordability needs across the age spectrum here in Lancaster.
Housing has been such a big topic in Lancaster. With really so many different challenges. We have, a low vacancy rate in Lancaster. We have, we struggle with affordable housing. I think the most recent statistic is 41% of renters are housing cost burdened. But then we're also challenged on the other side of kind of how and where we grow, and are we growing at the densities that we want to see at Places 2040? So, which is the county's comprehensive plan. I'm curious, hearing from your audience, from older adults in particular in Lancaster, what are some of their top housing concerns?
Mhm. Affordability. Whether you are a homeowner or a renter, how can I continue to stay in my home or apartment as long as possible? And some of that is, there's a woman that I work with that she says to me probably every 2 or 3 weeks, I never expected to live this long. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to afford this. And that's a joy and a concern that she has. And that extends into repairs and upkeep of homes. People who are considering what to do with their 150-year-old row homes. What if I do need it to be universally accessible? What if I do need that bathroom on the first floor? How can I afford that? How can we fit that into our home? And so those really are the biggest concerns, and really a strong push that people want to stay in their neighborhoods, they want to stay in their homes, and how can we as a community make that more feasible, make that possible with critical repair programs, with whole home repair programs, and just with general community support, and being good neighbors. Yeah, so it's the same concerns as other people have with housing too. How can I
Mhm.
afford this? How can I keep it up? With the added lens of I need to be able to be here accessibly.
So what else is on the horizon for Age Friendly Lancaster? We'll make sure people have all the information about coming to the summit, which is coming up here. And what are your kind of future plans?
Yeah. So this is where we're midway through the action plan. So we will continue with the intergenerational connections, with events and things like that. Our access to services team over the next year is going to be hosting a series of pop-up emergency health information events. And so one of that team's focus has been to make sure that people have their medical information accessible in case of an emergency. And so they're promoting the Pennsylvania PennDOT's Yellow Dot program, which helps. And if you're in the car, we are helping folks update their smartphones with their emergency medical information in front of the lock screen, so that providers have access to that, and then providing solutions for in the home as well. So you can look for that series of community information as well.
That's great. So how can people attend the summit if they're interested? I think it's a free event.
Yeah, this is a free event. We are thanks to our sponsors. We are hosting it at the Holiday Inn on Thursday, October 12th. We're going to close registration on Tuesday. But if you really need to sneak in after that, you can email me at Downtowners. So there is an Eventbrite sign up that you can find on the Age Friendly Lancaster City Facebook page, as well as United Way of Lancaster County's Facebook page. They have been co-hosting the event with us as well. And we hope to see you there.
Yeah, great. We'll definitely we'll share a link too so people can check that out. And outside of the summit, what if anyone listening wants to get involved with Age Friendly Lancaster, are there other opportunities?
Reach out to me and we'll put you where your skills and interests lie. There's space for everybody in this collaborative initiative. Any age too.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much for catching up a few minutes today about Age Friendly Lancaster. Obviously, the summit's going to be a very exciting event this week to check out, all related to housing. But there's a lot of other opportunities as the city rolls out the comprehensive plan and as Age Friendly Lancaster works through their action plan, which we'll also link to so people can check out and learn more. Thanks for everyone who's listening to our episode. You can find more episodes of Listening to Lancaster on our YouTube channel or on our website at hourglasslancaster.org. So thanks so much for your time today.
Great. Thank you so much, Diana.